and children of all ages, including me. Parashat Vayechi, page 268. There should be a few volumes here for people to have. Page 268, Parashat Vayechi. Now, Vayechi means to live. It's Jacob lived, and it's the last parasha of this book of Bereshit. So we're all making a big celebration. And we have finished the first of 5 journeys through the Torah. Sefer Bereshit has come to an end. Sefer Bereshit talks about talks about the beginnings of the world, creation, and the beginnings of our people, going from the story of Adam and Chava in Gan Eden, through Noach and the flood, the Mabul, going on to the beginning of and quickly dismissing 2,000 years of what we call tohu vavohu, emptiness and nothingness and no productivity, 2,000 years of caveman society. And then we begin to discuss in depth in this book the stories of our ancestors, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaacov. You know who they are, right? I just want to make sure. I want you. You know you have to pass a test on that. The fathers go through their various adventures through life, many of them challenging, and great people have great challenges, overcome them, become great. Everybody has the potential for such. Some fail, some succeed. Abraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov succeeded in becoming great people, in becoming fathers. What does it mean to be a father? It means to establish something after you. If you father something, or you father a child, you leave something over beyond you. There's a continuum of you. Whether it's a child biologically, whether it's an idea or an attitude or a belief, or anything at all of which has an eternal, everlasting legacy or teaching. And that is what an Av is. And so I want to talk about that for a second. You know, I'm leaving, as you know, everyone knows Mazal Tov. We have our baby girl, right? You know that. So, right, Mazal Tov. So I'm leaving Sunday night after the class to New York to see the new baby, and who doesn't have a name yet. Bezrat Hashem will be Shabbat. When someone's got an idea of a new name? I mean, there's thoughts about what, there's thoughts about what it might be, but we're not permitted to say. Anyway, I'll be away Sunday the 23rd, and we sent out an email. I'll be away Thursday the 27th, and Sunday the 30th. I'm returning on Thursday the 3rd. There'll be a class on Thursday the 3rd. I'm going to devote the class on Thursday, the 3rd of January, which is the second parasha in the next book, to my father, blessed memory, and to his yahrzeit. Part of my going to New York is also to be at my father's graveside for the yahrzeit, for the askara, and then I will return. My custom is every year, just about the time of the anniversary of his passing, to give a shiur of learning in his memory, and that will be on Thursday, the the 3rd of January. So we talked about fathers. And this, I'm just touching on it now. We'll touch more about it, of course, in 2 weeks from now when I return to this year. But a father leaves something over. That's what a father is. A father gets something to happen that didn't happen before. Not everybody gets to have that title. There's some people that are great teachers and great learners and great righteous people and kind people. A lot of other wonderful contributions people make in the world. But the special contribution of a father is something I would like to explore in 2 weeks. But we know that Bereshit, the book of Genesis, is known as Sefer HaAvot, the book of our fathers, the book of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Now Yaakov has, in each one of them, of course, are succeeding. Avram's son is Yitzchak, he becomes the second father. Yitzchak's son is Yaakov, he becomes the third father. Yaakov has 12 sons, none of whom are known as fathers. They're fathers of their own right, but they're not fathers of the Jewish people. Moshe Rabbeinu will be this great man that will take the Jewish people out of Mitzrayim. We'll learn about that. He is not known as a father. And we're going to make that contradistinction in 2 weeks as well and show the difference. But for us now, we know that Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov are the fathers. And when I play with many of you, I played the association game. And I give you a number and you tell me something about it in Judaism, right? And we played that game? So if I say the number 3, what do you say? Patriarchs. If I say the number 4, what do you say? Matriarchs. Okay, you got the idea. Patriarchs are avot, matriarchs are imahot. Right. Shlosha avot, arba imahot. Echad mi yodea. Anyway, the point is that you might say that one father is enough for the Jewish people. But the answer is not, it's 3. And we'll explore the reason behind that as well. But the book of Genesis, the book of Bereshit, is about the fathers. So therefore, if that's the case, if this parsha will talk about the death of Yaakov, that means, therefore, the parsha ends the book. The book is the book of our fathers, Sefer HaAvot, so Bereshit is done. And really, the next book coming up is the book of Shemot, the names of the Jewish people, Bnei Yisrael. That's the book about us as a people. In other words, this is the book of Avot, and the next book will be the book of us, the Banim, Avot the Banim, the sons and the daughters and the children. And so, to celebrate the finishing of one book, we go to the back, we go to page we go to page 289, 288, 289, in which we read the following. We recite the following declaration at the end of the reading. The book ends on 288. The parsha ends at 288, and we say 3 words, which will be said by the entire congregation on Shabbat morning. If you'll all be in the synagogue on Shabbat, you'll all hear it. And the congregation will say first, Chazak, Chazak, then it Chazek, and then the Balkore, the reader of the Torah, will respond with the same 3 words. Chazak, Chazak, then it Chazek. So, this means to be strong, and ever be strengthened. And what it really means is, basically, that if you've accomplished in learning, which we have by finishing the first book, don't rest on your laurels, don't be satisfied with your accomplishments, but be strong and courageous and begin to learn again, and begin anew and start again. And so that very evening, this Shabbat, in the Mincha, we will read the Torah, the next Parsha, which is the new book, and we'll begin with Shemot on Shabbat afternoon, while we finish Bereshit on Shabbat morning. Of course, the celebration is 1/5 of the celebration that you have when you finish all 5 books. That's the big celebration of Simchat Torah, and that's really singing and dancing and jumping with the Torah and really celebrating in a way that really feels the sense of accomplishment of what it means to have learned something and stood and stayed with it and was consistent with it. And every week we learned the parsha, and there's no missing, and we did so much with it. And of course, there's so much more to do as well. So we start again with Bereshit once we finish the Varim. Anyway, back to our Parsha Vayechi. Yaakov passes away. It says that Yaakov lived in Mitzrayim 17 years, and the days of Yaakov was 147 years old. Obviously, that means that how old was Yaakov when he arrived in Mitzrayim?
When he arrived in Mitzrayim?
Yeah.
How old was Yaakov?
130.
That's what I said. Let's try it again. I talk fast, pay attention. It's not my fault. I talk fast. I'm sorry. Yaakov lived in Mitzrayim 7. I'm reading it, folks. Yaakov lived in Mitzrayim 17 years, and he died at the end. His life was 147. How old was he when he arrived in Mitzrayim? 130.
You needed an answer for that?
I just want to know. But not to do business with you. All right. Anyway, the time approached for Israel to die. Israel is whom? Yaakov. So obviously, we all know that his name was changed or amended. However, this name change wasn't complete. In other words, he really used both names interchangeably. What sometimes Yaakov, sometimes Yisrael. But the name Yisrael, as we know it, Israel is coming from Yaakov. His name was changed in that manner. And it came time for him to die, and he called his son Yosef and said, "Please, if I found favor in your eyes, please place your hand under my thigh, do kindness and truth with me, chesed v'emet, do not bury me in Mitzrayim." So basically, the question off the top is, what's the name of the parsha? What's Vayechi mean?
Resurrect.
It means to live.
Yeah.
Vayechi Yaakov lived 17 years, he lived. Why would you name a parsha he lived when it's the parsha of his death?
Because those last 17 years was when he actually lived. And the 17 before when Yosef was.
Okay, so we know that pshat. We're going to learn that pshat. But the point is, why do we call it? It should say this is the parsha of Yaakov's death, and it says this is the parsha of Yaakov's life. Oh,
right.
Because Sarah is the same story. In the parsha of Sarah's death, we call it the life of Sarah. So we learn from this a very important chazal. The Gemara teaches, "Tzadikim nikroim chayim afilu b'mitatan," that righteous people are called alive even if they're dead, which of course is the eternity of a person. You go to a funeral. They have a hesped, a eulogy, and in the eulogy they talk about the wonderfulness of the person, this, that, and that, and he's remembered, and maybe while time does dim the memory to some degree, but the remembrance is always there, and maybe on the yard site you remember, maybe at least once a year, whatever, but the point is that if there's a remembrance of that person, in any way, shape, or form, that means that person had lived and made a mark on life. And that mark remains because it remained in your mind. If it remains in your mind, remains in your memory, that means that person remains. And that's the point of saying that righteous are considered alive even if they're dead. Yes?
They're also active in their teaching.
Yeah, because you remember their teachings from before. Absolutely.
And after.
Right, and you remember that afterwards to the extent that it still inspires you 5, 10, 15 years later.
But don't they say that they even move a little bit when you say that?
So that's true also. Whoever says something over in the name of person who died, siftotav dovavot bakever. His lips move in the grave. If you want to tell me that the great Rambam said this, the Rambam's lips are moving while you say it. If you want to say that the great Chavetz Chaim said it, his lips are moving in the grave. You want to tell me Moshe Rabbeinu said it, His lips are moving in the grave. So obviously, it's a continuous life of which we realize that death is only a separation, a temporary separation at best. It is really a continuum of life. Life does not end. Life continues and continues to grow and to develop. So that's why we call it Vayechi. So now, Itai brings up the point that Vayechi is to live. And when we say live, let's talk not just about breathing, let's talk about the quality of life. Let's talk about the quality of life. In terms of the quality of life, so we all know that Yaakov lived 17 years here in Mitzrayim. It's also noteworthy that when Yosef was stolen away and kidnapped in Mitzrayim, he was also at the age of 17. What is the gematria, the numerical value in letters of the word 17?
No.
That's 18. So, we all know, huh?
Tov and Chet.
Tov.
But also Chet.
Where's Chet?
Sin, the word sin, right?
Oh, so Chet really is 17 because the Aleph doesn't count. But the factor here is that the Tov overrides the Chet. In other words, if you focus on the Tov, then you don't have Chet. If Chas Shalom you don't, then you are easily drawn into Chet because you are miserable. You don't feel the Tov, the good. So let's feel the Tov. 17 years of Tov and 17 years of Tov. The first 17 years of Yaakov's life with Yosef was a marvelous, wonderful, good years, marked with a tranquility that he had not known since his childhood. The last 17 years of his life, when he spent it again with his favorite and loved son Joseph, who was now the ruler of Mitzrayim, he lived them in peace, he lived them in satisfaction, in joy, knowing that he had with his son at all times. So, of course, 17 and 17 equals 34, and 34 is double Tov. Just like 18 and 18 for Chai, double Chai is 36, so double Tov is 34. Now, take a look, please, at the word Vayechi, and spell it, and tell me the numerical value of Vayechi. I already knew that. Okay. I'll do business with you. Okay. Vayechi. Vav. Yud. Chet. And Yud. Look at it, ladies and gentlemen. Vav. Yud. Chet. Yud. 6, 10, 8, and 10. What is that? 34. That's when Yaakov was really living. That was his real life, those 34 years. And, of course, we know that Yaakov's life was a troubled one, with challenges and fears and concerns, no different than Yitzchak's challenges were, and frankly, just like Avram's challenges were. And again, when you get challenges, and you have it tough a little bit, and it's not easy, and it's rough, well, there was a president of the United States named Harry Truman. Harry Truman once said, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. So, you gotta be strong, because if you are, then you leave great accomplishments and great achievements. So that's the encouragement of strength, and Yaakov lived through it and was able to secure the joy of seeing his son alive and enjoying these 34 years. Now, as Yaakov prepares to die, he tells his son he does not want to be buried in Egypt. What does that mean that he does want? Israel. But he also means something else he wants. And it's real simple. It's right in front of your face. Yaakov asks from Yosef a request.
Right.
He says, don't bury me in Mitzrayim. Which by implication means what?
You're going to have to travel. You're going to carry it.
Right, I want to be buried in Israel.
Right.
But it also means another thing.
You have to do it.
I want to be buried. Every word counts here. Why is that so special? Yeah, okay.
Because the Egyptians were idol worshipping, and they are not necessarily going to put in. They wouldn't put put it maybe in a pyramid and not in the ground.
And right, and they would
And
have,
they
right.
would have idol worship him.
Right, and that would have been a very, very miserable sleep in the eternity of Olam Haba for Yaakov. That's correct. But the key factor here is that we want to talk about burial in of itself, without the appellations. Yes, I want Eretz Yisrael. No, I don't want Mitzrayim. But I do want to be buried. Yes, you're right. I want to be buried b'karka, in the ground. None of this wall stuff. But, and the body returns to the earth from where it came. Adam came from Adamah. We understand that. But the key is to understand that,
Because of the tunnels?
I mean, right. That's another factor. But that's that's a factor of Eretz Yisrael, not a factor of burial. I want to focus just simply on the idea of the simple issue of burial.
Because of his mom.
So the issue of burial. See, you're looking for too much. You're looking for too many unique specifics.
chesed של אמת.
Oh, that's what I'm looking for. What's that mean?
chesed של אמת?
Yeah.
It's the only thing.
You can't
It's
do
the
it a
only.
favor.
Exactly.
I simply want a chesed. I want you to do me a favor. And this particular favor is chesed shalamet. It's the truest favor because you can't repay it. I want you to take care of me when I can no longer take care of myself. That's what burial is all about. So what we're learning from this parsha or from this story is not just the issue of the significance of being buried in Eretz Yisrael, or the issue of not the rolling of the bodies to Eretz Yisrael at the time of Mashiach when resurrection will come. Those are all specifics and valuable, important lessons. But the key lesson is a basic one: the dead need to be buried. So now let's say, and I recall talking about this. Let's say a man is walking through the street, and let's say he's a Kohen. And everyone knows that a Kohen cannot touch the dead except for his family. Right? Everyone knows that, right? And the Kohen is walking, and he happens to be the Kohen of the day. That means every Kohen gets his turn as to what he's going to be doing in the Beit HaMikdash on that given day. And I'm going to bring, today's my day to bring the korban, tomorrow's your day to bring the korban, and so forth. So, in so doing, I'm on my way to perform the Beit HaMikdash, and of course, if I do become tamei, impure, because of being involved with the corpse, I can't do that. Now, let's say it's Yom Kippur, and on Yom Kippur, we don't allow any Kohen to do the service. We require it to be done by the Kohen Gadol, the high priest. And he's walking down the street towards the Beit HaMikdash to do the service, and he bumps right into a corpse.
No, you're tameh.
No, he has to.
Well, he didn't exactly touch it yet, let's say he's more than dollar on the way. He is not tameh yet.
It's more than that than one?
More than dollar.
And he's outside. It's not
Right. He's out. It's in the street, and here he is over here. You know, by the way, I want to tell you something. I was looking the other day at the video of me on the YouTube over there, and I noticed certain people that got into the YouTube and got into the video. He's in the video, and I noticed a few others that got into the video too.
Making things.
Right. Now, you want to be in that video, don't you? Because if you do, it won't be because of fame, it'll be infamy. That's not fame, it's infamous. Here's the guy that came late. So, hang on one second. Okay, you want to say, go ahead.
I guess it's the chesed, because it's the highest form.
Yeah, we said why? Because it can't be repaid. Right.
Not just that, because the entire world, as you said once, was created on chesed.
Olam chesed yibaneh, 100%. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about it. We can talk about lots of different chasadim. Let's talk about 4 simple, basic chasadim that we do, let's say, all the time, hopefully. And we do, and it's listed in the Mishnah in the early morning davening. You know, the early morning davening, we say Elu Dvarim. These are the things that a person should do, and he'll get credit in the world to come, and they're going fruits in this world. And it talks about Gemilut Chasadim, kindness in Torah, and davening, and it also talks about Kibbut Avein. But then it talks about 4 specific 4 specific issues of chesed. One it says is Achnasat Orchim. Achnasat Kala. It talks about going to a wedding. That's a great kindness of a person, right? And it talks about Achnasat Orchim, bringing in guests, right? And it talks about visiting the sick, Bikul Cholim, right? And it talks about Havayat Hamet, burying the dead. These are all issues that are expressions of chesed. Havayat Hamet, however, is of course the biggest of all we want to say because it can be repaid. I mean, if you go to somebody's wedding and dance to make them happy, they'll come to your wedding. And if you invite a guest over for Shabbat, then he'll invite you over for Shabbat. So those things are reciprocal. This can't be. So this is the chesed shalamet. Then he says it right here. So we're putting burial in perspective to the extent where, let's say now, it's the greatest kindness of all we want to say. So now the guy is walking down the street and it's a Kohen Gadol Yom Kippur. Holiest day of the year. Who's going to do that service in the Beit HaMikdash to bring about forgiveness for the entire Jewish people? The Kohen Gadol meets at their courts. He is required to become tameh, to become impure. He's required to take care of the dead and bury him, even if it has to sacrifice. And he has to give up the opportunity to bring the sacrifices in the temple in Yerushalayim on Yom Kippur.
So who will do it instead?
Oh, so who'll do it instead? So we all know that there are Kohanim that are called Sgan Kohanim. These people are appointed to be, unless something happens that this guy is not able to do it for whatever reason, there's someone who will replace him. There are other Kohanim appointed 7 days before Yom Kippur it happens. So, but the point is again, he has to sacrifice this and give this up. And we say one of the reasons is because God don't cover Abriyo. Great is honor due to person. Great is the need to be respectful to the human being. There can be no greater respect that you can show than to bury the dead. The respect is so powerful that other forms of help or respect can be involved, but in fact they do not come up as important as this one of caring for someone who's truly needy. He just simply can't fend for himself. He can't bury himself. And so this is the perspective of what Yaakov is asking his son Yosef. So he's asking him, please don't bury me in Mitzrayim. Please bury me in Eretz Yisrael. Please don't make an idol out of me. Please let me rest in peace. And please, simple, bury me. Which means that this is a request that fathers will make from children all their lives. I mean, all the generations. All the generations, not just Yaakov and Yosef. All the generations, children will be called upon to make arrangements for the passing of their beloved parents and to take care of what needs to be taken care of. On the day that a loved one passes away, one is not permitted to die. One is not permitted to say a bracha. One is not permitted to even put out tefillin, because he's so preoccupied with his grief and with his the need to make the arrangements that he is exempt from these mitzvot. He's exempt. So we understand how important, how valuable it is to get this mitzvah done. I told the story, maybe some of you may remember, that I was called up by a rabbi in Los Angeles who told me about a family here in the valley that weren't religious, but they had a son who was religious, and the son was fighting with them. Please don't cremate him. They wanted to cremate him. It's a tragedy of Jewish people who want to do cremation. I mean, it's the sickest thing you can imagine. So, I mean, that's what Nazis in Yaacov Avinu did.
Yeah.
All right? So now, they want to do it. And he's begging with them, fighting them, please don't do it. So he runs, and he calls the rabbi. Rabbi calls me and says to me, you better go over there and speak to them first thing in the morning and try to talk them out of it. So I said to him, I will be glad to do it. I'll go right after davening. And he said, don't wait for davening. Go straight. This overtakes davening. Daven later. speak to these people, save this guy. Save him from cremation. See to it that he gets buried in the ground. With all this then perspective, why does Yaakov call only Yosef and not anybody else?
Wait, did it work?
Oh, that story?
Yeah.
Why is that?
They took the body and
I'll tell you. I was successful. I talked to the young man's sister, and I talked to her in a way that I guess that she was convinced that it was the right thing to do, would be a more honorable service, and we did the service properly in the cemetery.
How'd you convince him?
I don't remember what I said. I mean, I could have, maybe I picked a choice thought, so maybe I could have said that maybe the Nazis burnt people, and how the body had remains, has a holiness to it. The body was created by the handiwork of God, and it returns to the earth where it belongs, and a few other choice points. But the point is that I was able to accomplish it. Now, so why does he call Yosef and not anybody else?
Because Joseph is the only one who has the power to talk to
Is that true? Is that true? Is that true? What? Oh, I was just nervous, that's all. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think, I was nervous. My hand just flew out there. Well, what do you say is the reason why he calls Yosef?
Because Joseph has the power to talk.
Because Yosef has the power. Yosef, of course, is the king of Egypt, the prime minister, the most powerful man. He can arrange for this to happen. His other sons may not have the authority or the ability. And therefore, he needs to connect with Yosef. In connecting with Yosef, if you'll take a look at the Parsha, it says that, he says, if I found favor in your eyes, which is a real classic Hebrew statement of him, Nama tzatichen b'einecha. If I found favor in your eyes. I mean, the question is, why does he have to say that? Why does he have to say to Yosef, tzatichen b'einecha?
בגלל רחל.
Is it because of his non-ritual?
Because of what?
He didn't do it.
So what do you want to say? You want to say that that because he was afraid that Joseph would not do it for him because why? Because he buried Rachel not in Eretz Yisrael, or at least at that time it was in Eretz Yisrael. He wants to say he buried Rachel alone on the road in Bethlehem, and therefore maybe Joseph would not want to do the same to him. It seems to me that's a very, very far-fetched concern. I mean, if there's a mitzvah to be done, do the mitzvah. I'm asking my son to do a mitzvah. And you might hesitate because of whatever. That's not a legitimate reason for hesitation to the extent where I've got to beg of you, please, if I found favor in your eyes. To me, to say, ask a dying father on his deathbed, to talk to his child, his son, and say, please, don't ignore me after I'm dead. I mean, that's not a very, very deep relationship between father and son. And yet we know that there was a very deep relationship between father and son, a relationship of his favorite. So why is he have to really almost beg Yosef to do this?
In order to make sure that he...
Yeah, okay, you can say that too. I mean, these are all good terutzim. I'm not saying they're all good, but at the end of the day, it's strange that he would have to make that kind of overture to a son that he has a relationship with,
Because he was out in Egypt for a long time.
and therefore.
So he was close to the Pharaoh.
So then, why am I asking you for a favor? Why am I begging you? Im nama tzatichen b'einecha.
maybe he thought he got affected.
Huh?
Maybe he thought that he got affected from.
Oh, so maybe but I think by this stage, okay, the point is maybe Yosef doesn't realize how important a religious obligation this must be.
No,
He's
right.
also asking him, not ordering him.
What?
He's asking him, he's not ordering him.
Right. So I mean, why should he even bother? I mean, just listen. Listen, I know you're my son. I'm your father. You're gonna bury me. No problem. That's obvious, right? And however, one little detail, don't do it in Mitzrayim.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
I think maybe it's because what he did with his own father, the stress that maybe, with
Why is he asking
his cost.
with such a begging? Why is he pleading?
Because it's going to be really difficult.
Yeah, because they're going to prevent it.
Okay, I mean, again,
But it's-
with all due respect, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. Except there's this extra detail. This extra detail which is not here. Bury me in Mitzrayim. Of course, it was over here in Mitzrayim. Then of course the burial will take place without a question. The shaila is to go back to Eretz Yisrael. But
Parod didn't want him to do
what do
it.
you want to say?
Because if he buries his father in Israel,
Yeah.
his descendant might think that that's their
No,
homeland.
no,
and
not touching it.
I know, but I like it.
רבי, לא, אתה לא מבין לא מבין מה הוא עושה עכשיו. אתה מדבר פה על...
כמה מיליונים? המון מיליונים.
אתה מדבר פה על...
He's got
10%?
business, he's got a pregnant wife.
אני אביא 20 גם, אין בעיה. גם 20 אני אביא לך. באמת. תראה איזה מאמץ אני
אני זוכר הוא אמר, אבא.
מה אמר?
שמעתי את ה-20.
הוא רשם.
כולם עדים.
יש עדים.
כולם
יש
עדים.
לך יוטיוב.
got YouTube.
לא, יותר מזה, זה קונטרקט, מה?
Sword shop and sword.
לא, זה הפוך, רבי.
זה הפוך.
אתה צריך להגיד...
זה הפוך. הפוך.
אמן. אני לוקח 5 מלמעלה.
Who wants to hold it?
He does.
He does.
Look at that.
I got an idea. Yeah, take mine.
And what am I going to do with it?
I don't know. Let's fix it a little bit.
I put some in the calendar for him.
Okay, I'll fix up your calendar. in there.
Okay, do that. Do that. Do that. I have to tell people that there's man's a kadosh. So what? The bottom line is what he's saying is as follows.
פרעה. It's because of פרעה.
He's saying to him, I know you're going to marry. I know you're going to do this. I know you're from. And I know you're religious. And I also know that you love me. And I also know that you're dedicated to me. And I know you're going to do it. But my concern is, what's the reason? Are you doing it because of me? Or are you doing it because of the mitzvah? Now, how many parents ask of their children loyalty, love, respect? Of course, we all ask of our kids to do that, right? And we're obligated to do it. You gotta show your parents respect, you gotta show your parents loyalty, you gotta show your parents love. Of course you gotta do that. The question is, why are you doing it? If you're doing it because you have this hergesh, this feeling, this sense of emotional attachment, that's nice. But that's not the reason. The reason's gotta be because Hashem Shemayim, because it's a mitzvah of Hashem to do it. That's the key. That's the key. The key is to do it because God asks of you.
But
In other
how is
words,
he getting it? How is it? How
well,
is he understanding?
no, understand. If I'm asking you to do something good, I'm not only asking you to do it, I'm asking you for the proper kavana in doing it. That's what I'm asking. Yaakov asks more from Yosef. You're right. He's afraid that Yosef may be affected by Mitzrayim. Because he found out that's not true. Because he sees that when he came to Mitzrayim, he saw that Yosef keeping all the mitzvot. He saw that Yosef is 100% remained loyal to the Torah, to the mitzvot. He saw that. But he wants deeper. He wants to not get things mixed up between emotion and fact. Between hergesh, sure you should have hergesh. That shouldn't be the motivation. The motivation is, I gotta do the right thing. Why? Because let's say, chas v'shalom, there's no hergesh. Let's say, God forbid, I don't get along with my father. Let's say, God forbid, I don't want to even bother with him at all. Maybe he's been abusive. Maybe he's been this, maybe he's been that. That's got nothing to do with it. You have a mitzvah. And the mitzvah's got to be done. But it's more than that. It's more than that because sometimes what takes place is that parents will misplace their demand of respect from their children to the extent that they don't mind if a child violates a mitzvah as long as it doesn't violate respect. That gets real personal. My child is not Shomer Shabbat, but he respects me. And that is satisfactory to many. They're tragic. Because that's what happens when parents misplace that obligation of respect. A true parent wants one thing from his child: to remain loyal to my teachings, to remain loyal to my legacy. That means that I want you to do it because the Torah says so. Because I want to know that you're loyal to the Torah. That's what concerns me the most. That you do it for Hergesh, that's something else. So you'll do it properly. But the point is that it's got to be done because God wants you to do it. And the only real nachat that a parent has, like I said, the story, is the story is that my mother-in-law, Leah Shalom, she had her son and family in Morocco, and there was some infant deaths in the family, and she has her son who will, if she lets him go, leave her at the age of 18 to go all the way from Morocco to America in 1954, which means they won't talk for the next 5 years. They won't. There's no cell phones, there's no Skypes, there's no nothings, maybe a few letters here and there. They will not talk for 5 years. Because why? Because this way my son will learn Torah. And my son will build a life in a family. I will relinquish my own personal feelings, and I will let him go, says a mother, so that he can build himself and build his family and build his future for the Torah and for the mitzvot. That is parents in their self-sacrificial, in their willingness to give over the mesiras nefesh for their children. The bottom line is that, is this for the parent or is this for the child? From the child's perspective, it's for the parent. From the parent's perspective, it's for the child. You need to respect me because you need to listen to me and to do what's right, because you might make mistakes. But you don't need to listen to me so that I said, I don't need you to help me take the garbage out. Mom doesn't need you to help with the dishes. Mom needs you to be religious. That's what mom needs from you. When we get that idea across, then we become better parents. Now we know what parenting is all about. So Yaakov tells him, I want you to do this because it's a chesed shalamet. I want you to do this because it's a mitzvah of the Torah, because it's the kindness that the Torah requires. That's what I want. And that includes to bury me in Mitzrayim. And of course he picks Yosef because Yosef's the only one's capable, but obviously Yosef will engineer it that all the brothers will participate. With this in mind, so he says, I want to be buried in Marsa Machpelah, and he asks for a shvuah, for an oath, and he gives him a shvuah. And giving him a shvuah, he says in verse 31, Israel now bows his head at the bed, meaning that he is now getting older and closer to his passing. Okay, so now the idea of him being on the bed is important for us to know because of a little interesting little rule. Take a look at the next passage. Vayachar dvar melech, 48 chapter 4, verse 1. Vayomer Yosef. Now Yosef is told in a little bit extra time, Hinei avicha choleh, your father is sick. Gemara learns it's the first time in history that anyone ever got sick. All of the passings of the Avot and of people from before died without illness. At the end of the day, it's over, finished. The passage is not tumultuous. It's not traumatic. Dying is traumatic. Death is pleasant. Big difference. Fact of the matter is that Yaakov is the first one to become cholet, to be sick. And he brings Ephraim and Menashe and Ephraim in front of him. And Menashe is listed first in verse 1 because of the fact that Menashe is the oldest. So, if you take a look at the word that Hine, behold your father is sick, And then you will see later on that verse 2, here comes, they tell Yaakov, here comes Yosef to visit you. By Chazek Yisrael, he becomes stronger. By Yeshiv al Hamita. And he sits on the bed. As if he gets up, he gets stronger, so to speak. Because of the visit. By Yeshiv al Hamita, before he was lying on the bed. Right here, if you take a look at verse 31 on the previous page, he bowed down, so to speak. He fell over. His head hit the pillow. Here, Vayeshev al Hamita, Pasuk bed. He gets up, he sits up on the bed. He must have gotten a bit stronger. What is interesting is take a look at the word in Pasuk Aleph, and we begin chapter 48. After these things, Yosef told to Yosef, Hine. What does Hine mean? Behold, your father is sick. Hine is spelled Hey, Nun, Hey. What is the gematria of Hey, Nun, Hey? 60. Then it says that he gets strong on the bed. Let's take a look at the word bed. The bed. Hamita. What is the gematria of Hamita? שוב פעם, המיטה, huh?
40, 50, 9 ו5.
What's the total?
He need the phone.
55, 9, רגע, 64, עוד 5, 69.
69. I ain't doing this with you.
Why?
Because you're wrong.
Mem is 40, Yud is 10.
There's no yud there.
Amita is...
Take a look at it.
איפה?
Pasuk bet בסוף. Why don't you look at the word?
Oh! 45 plus 9 is
59.
54 plus... Exactly, 50.
If you take the youth, it's 10. It's
Well, it's very simple. You have two words with hey on both sides. Hine, hey.
Yes.
Hamita, hey. What's in between? Nun or mentet? What is nun?
50.
What is mentet?
49.
49. Okay. So the difference is between 59 and 60.
Yeah.
One is 60, one's 59.
Right.
Says the Chazal. The person goes to visit a person who's sick in the hospital and he gives him some encouragement. He takes away 1/60th of the illness. 1/60th of the he takes away. Amazing thing. What you can do with big chaylim. Imagine what you can do. So what's the point? The point is, of course, is that shishim is known to us to be an expression of tam. What's tam? Flavor. Like for instance, if let's say a piece of non-kosher food fell into a kosher pot of soup, and in this kosher pot of soup, right, there is 60 more times kosher than there is the drop of the non-kosher. The halacha is, it's all kosher. And that the little drop does not affect the rest of the pot. If on the other hand, it was a little too much more, then it gives off a tam. The Gemara says, tam ki'ikah. Even if you don't eat non-kosher, but if you eat flavor of a non-kosher, that's also forbidden. What does it mean? It means that 1/60th gives it a tam. 1/60th gives a tam to the flavor. If you want to know a flavor of the illness, you can take 1/60th of it out with you, and he gets a little bit better. You want to feel a taste, a 1/60th of Olam Haba? Shabbat. Me'ein Olam Haba. Echad mishishi. 1 of 60.
והמיטה?
And death
שינה.
is sleeping is 1/60th of death. You get a taste of it. You know what it's like. So with that in mind, the idea is that at this point, Bikkur Cholim becomes a powerful mitzvah, and one which you can accomplish enormous things with. You can go to visit a person, spend a few minutes, give him a little chizuk, a little strength, a little encouragement, and walk out, and he is 1/60th better from this little lesson. So, of course, now comes the whole story with Yosef introducing his sons to Yaakov. Now, when he introduces his sons to Yaakov on page 270, which is in the Pasuk Hey, so Yaakov says, you know these two sons that you have here in Eretz Mitzrayim, that you were born in Eretz Mitzrayim, which he emphasized they were born in Mitzrayim. What does that mean he was born in Mitzrayim? That he was born in Galut, these children. My other children and grandchildren were all born in Eretz Israel in a beautifully warm Torah environment. These children were born in Mitzrayim, in the heart of depravity, in the throngs of Hollywood Boulevard. And he says about these sons, that these sons were born to you, Lihaim, they belong to me. That means that I accept them, that I see that you raised them right. I see goodness in them. I see my teachings in them. I see what I taught you in them. I'm pleased. And he says more, Ephraim and Menashe, I will take these two sons of yours, Ephraim and Menashe, Kiruven and Shimon Yuli. What does that mean? I will feel for them as if it's Reuven and Shimon. Who's Reuven and Shimon?
His sons.
His own sons.
Right.
I feel my Bnei Banim, Kibanim. I feel that these grandchildren are like my children. And of course, a parent oftentimes feels that way. Grandchildren are like children. And you love them just as much. What's interesting is that he says more than that. He could have said simple,
My sons.
Bnei Banim Kibanim. These two sons are my Bnei Banim, my grandchildren, and I feel like Banim that they're my children. But he doesn't say that. He takes two sons and he gives them as an example and says, you see these two guys by name, Ephraim and Menashe? They're like these two guys by name, Reuven and Shimon. Why does he do that? Why does he do that?
That was close to him.
No, why does he do that? Why does he name them Reuven and Shimon? Why does he call them Ephraim and Menashe like Reuven and Shimon? Why does he do that?
Giving them their.
Because he wants to do what?
Makes them
Giving them
try.
their inheritance.
They are going to be.
Yeah.
They're going to be tribes.
Yeah.
In other words, Yosef has always been charmed, always been the greatest of the father of the 12, and therefore he does not have a role as one tribe, but has a role as two tribes, Ephraim and Menashe. Ephraim and Menashe become two tribes, right? So and he leaves, that leaves 13 instead of 12. How do you get down to 12 again?
You take out Joseph.
No, well, he took out Joseph anyway, otherwise it'd be 14.
You take the other two.
No, Reuben and Shimon have to stay. So who do you take out?
Levi doesn't have a portion.
Levi.
Levi is special and unique. Levi is not part of the 12. Levi is super exalted over all the other 12. So now we understand that he prizes these two sons so much, that he loves them and senses their role within the history of the Jewish people. And so what he says over here is, now I take them, and he says to them again, in verse 8, he digresses, and he says, Vayah Yisrael b'nei Yosef, Vayom Miyela, Yisrael says, who are these children that belong to you? And here he's asking, what's their yichus? I know they're good, I know they're doing the right thing, but are they Jewish? Are they Jewish? Well, I want to know who you married. Who did you marry? Did you marry Jewish? Or did you look somewhere else in amongst the beauties of Egypt? And maybe you felt that the Egyptian women were more beautiful. And
He did marry an Egyptian though.
he married.
I know that the.
Who did he marry?
Osnat.
Osnat. Who's Osnat? Bat Dina. We all know that he was not swayed by the beauties of Egypt, right? But rather he married the one who he saw was miyuchesed lo, that she was special for him. And that was the one who showed the amulet at the time that there was the parade down Broadway in Egypt, and everyone was Merkevet Mishneh, everyone was having this wonderful time and throwing confetti on him and rice on him or whatever else, right? And he said, and the women were throwing themselves right in front of this guy, right? Which only happened to me. Anyway, Anyway, the reality is that he only picked Osna, who was really the daughter of Dinah, which is, of course, his sister's daughter. What's important to remember here is that Yosef therefore shows him the yichus. It's not enough to show that you have a fine girl. It's not enough to show that she's a wonderful person. We have to know the family. It's important to check the family. Now, let's say the family has maybe certain issues in the family. Maybe the father and mother don't get along so good, or maybe the children are not following the right path. You check the family out before you check the person. Then you check the person. And that's why he says, I want to know what the yichus is over here. In showing that, then Yosef goes on to say to him, these are my children. You have, and Hashem gave it to me in Mitzrayim. Now I'm asking you for a bracha. Meaning that the bracha that you're going to give them will indeed guarantee their future. That being the case, he brings them along for the bracha, and we're going to learn therefore that this entire parsha, the continuum of the parsha, is all about bracha. Now we learned about bracha. We learned about bracha from Father Yitzchak, that at the end of his life, what do you do? What does the father do? He gives a bracha to his child. Frankly, you never know when you're going to die. So when should you give your bracha? Nearly every day, or at least every Friday night. By Kiddush. Parents give their children bracha.
They didn't sound like brothers though.
Oh, what he gave at the end, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. The truth is, what a bracha is given by a man like Yaakov with insight into prophecy of what's going to be. And that's what he's telling him. And we're going to look at that in just a minute. But what we want to know from here now is how he blesses his grandchildren. And of course, the blessing is that they will become equal with the other brothers, right? And they will become tribes. With that in mind, okay, he comes to them, and once again, we've got a problem in verse 10 on page 270. Pasuk Yud, Pasuk Perik Memchet. What's the same old problem we had with Yitzchak? And he could not see. Once again, he doesn't see them. And as a result of that, Yosef brings them to him. And he kisses them. And he embraces them. And that's the way he's supposed to give a bracha, in fact. And then you turn the page and look at verse 13. Yosef draws the two sons with him to his father Yaakov. And for some reason, the Torah tells us that he puts Ephraim in the right hand, and which is to the left of Yisrael, and he puts Menashe in his left hand, which is to the right of Yisrael.
Right.
All right, it's like this. Here is Ephraim, and here's Menashe. Ephraim goes to your left hand,
Right.
and Menashe goes to your right hand. So therefore, Menashe ends up on the right. Why does the Torah tell us that Yaakov made this specific move, or Yosef made this specific move to do that? What's that important for? Because the right hand goes for the firstborn. And so therefore, firstborn deserves double bracha. The firstborn deserves, the firstborn has always been especially chosen, particularly in Mitzrayim, at the end of the 10th plague when the firstborn is killed. So therefore, the firstborn gets the special bracha. So Yosef does this in order to make sure that Yaakov gets it right, because Yaakov can't see. Okay. So the Torah tells us, guess what? Maybe Yaakov does see. And you don't have to see physically. You can see spiritually. You can get a perspective of prophetic vision in your mind that tells you the truth. And that is that Yisrael then sticks out his hands in verse 14, and he switches it. And he puts the hand of Ephraim on the younger one on the right, and he puts the hand of his Bechor, the firstborn, into his left. Sikel et Yadav, it says. What does the word Sikel mean? How do you know that? How do you know that?
Sikel. He's crossed.
How do you know that? Sikel means cross?
Okay.
No, סיכן זה כאילו לשבש.
Okay, Sikel. Okay, so let me tell you something. Okay, with all due respect to Israelis, There's no such word in Hebrew.
לא, לא, יש לסכן.
סמך כף לא?
יש, לסכן פיגוע, רבי.
It's taken from here. There's no such word. In the Makor of Rit, there's no such word. That sikel that you're talking about, samach, is taken from here from the sin. And no, you know what it is? You know? Okay, you don't know what it is. I'll tell you what it is. Okay, you want me to teach you guys Hebrew a little bit? Teach you a little Hebrew. Okay, sikel comes from the word seichel. What is seichel? That's right. It's using your head. It's your intelligence. It was with intelligence that he switched the hands. You understand? He saw with a vision that he didn't need eyes to understand that Ephraim will become greater than Manasseh. Which simply means what? That even though you may be predestined for this and that, your destiny can be overcome by your own personal achievements. And all of a sudden, while he's destined to be bigger than you, because he's the brachot, the firstborn, at the end, if your achievements are superior, you'll end up greater than him, even though you're not the firstborn. So there is always that balance, and we talked about it many times, the balance between nature and nurture. How you were born, with what genes you were born, and how you were brought up and what you made of your life. Somebody's brought up in a miserable situation and becomes the great Rivka Imenu. Someone's brought up in a magnificent home like the home of Yitzchak and becomes an Esau. It's really up to persons individually too. That's called bechira. That's called your free choice. And that's called the possibility, the sense of what a person wants to accomplish in this world. So really, persons can never say, well, I was destined for this, I'm not even going to try for more. That's way off. Because you don't know what you can become and what you can achieve. The fact is that Aaron was older than Moshe. And Moshe became the great leader. Aaron became the Kohen Gadol. And Moshe Rabbeinu became the greatest man who ever lived. And he was born third. So we learn from this how important it is for persons to realize the need for personal direction, even though there is a destiny that says differently. Anybody that is born not Jewish and moves with might and strength and effort and energy and is able to withstand all the difficulties and the challenges of the road and achieves conversion, that's a powerful acknowledgement. Now, persons weren't born that way. I wasn't born with all these disciplines, and all these observances, and all these demands, and all these learning, and all this religiosity. It's overwhelming. It's just maybe not for me. And that's fine, that's okay. That's not your destiny. But you beat destiny. And you say, no, I want this anyway. And you can do that. That's within the purview of any single individual. And that's what Gavus really tries to teach. That at the end of the day, there's a bechira chofshis, there's a free choice that anybody's got. Anybody can do it. Afilu nochri, even a foreigner, can be osei b'torah mitzvahs. And so says the Gemara. So therefore, this teaching teaches us this lesson. Now he gives them the bracha, and the bracha is Pasuk Tet Zayin. Hamalach hagoel oti mikora yivarech et hanarim. Yikareh b'hem shmi v'shem avotai, Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov, Avram Yitzchak, yidgu l'rov b'kerev haaretz. This is a Jewish lullaby, which all mummies sing to their babies from the earliest. Take a look at it again. Hamalach hagoel oti, Perek Memchet, Pasuk Tet Zayin, chapter 48, verse 16. This is the bracha that Yaakov gave to the two sons of Yosef. It's a bracha that simply says angels will watch over you and protect you, and that malach will take care of you and put my name on you, and my father's name and my grandfather's name. Now, when I bless a child, my son, so I put my hands on my son's head. What do I say? Simcha Elokim. May God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. When I do it to the girls, it's a little different. I place my hands over my daughter and I say, may God make you like Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, the four mothers. Why don't I therefore bless the sons with the same three fathers? If I'm blessing the girls with the four mothers, why don't I bless the sons of Yaakov? What? Yeah. Why? Because the bracha of Avraham and Yaakov is in Ephraim and Menashe. Because he said to them, the Malach will place my name and the Shem Avotai and the names of my fathers, Avraham and Yitzchak, on you. So when you do Ephraim and Menashe, you're doing Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov at the same time. You get it? That's why our custom is to bless the children as Yaakov blessed his grandchildren. And that should be taking place every Friday night. And it says at the end of the page, Pasuk Chaf, and he blessed them that day, and he said, B'cha yivarech Yisrael lemor, Israel, in your names, all of Klal Yisrael will bless all their children forever and ever. Yisimcha Elokim ki Ephraim v'Chem Menashe. And it's right here in the Pasuk. On Pasuk Chaf, that's where the bracha comes from. Now, the hour's late, but we won't get to all the brachas of all the sons. Each one was given a different bracha. But I want to just bring to your attention one thing. And that's the first pasuk, the first passage in chapter 49, Mem Tet. Vayikra Yaakov ubanav. Yaakov called out his sons, all of them this time. Vayom, and he said, Hey Ashfu, gather around my bed. V'agid lachem, and I will tell you, et sheikra etchem, what will happen to you, v'acharit hayamim, at the end of days. The Gemara says that Yaakov was ready to tell them when Mashiach is coming. Now the question is, which Mashiach? Is he going to tell them about Moshe Rabbeinu, taking them out of Mitzrayim? Or is he telling them about the ultimate Mashiach, which will happen to all of us?
It's all the way.
All the way, could be.
All the way.
So, you could say both, but okay, you want to say all the way, fine. But the bottom line is that he is ready to prophesize them and give them the date, time, and ETA. You understand? How much would you pay for the ETA of Mashiach? Can I have your phone for the ETA of Mashiach?
Can I have my phone? Take your phone. It doesn't even ring. Why you have a phone?
It doesn't ring because I put it on silent.
No, it does ring usually, but you can't do anything besides phone calls.
That's right. That's why. Keeps me safe.
It's kosher phone. If you
What
want,
is a
I
phone?
sell you one.
Only for phone calls. My grandfather also.
How much would you pay for the ETA of Mashiach?
Priceless.
How much?
Everything.
Priceless, he said. Priceless, right? So let me tell you,
But he didn't tell you.
Yaakov is ready to give it over to his sons. Now, if you read the rest of this chapter, you'll see that he never says it.
Right? Nistalka Shechina.
Nistalka Shechina. Right? All of a sudden, the divine presence, the Shekhinah of Hashem, on him, in which he is ready to have all this information, all this knowledge, all this prophecy, all this predictions, all this future. Left.
Why are you waiting until now?
Well, you got to first see that his sons are worthy.
Yeah, but also I read a midrash that says that it wasn't good to tell them that.
Why not?
If it's too far, it can break them.
Oh, and it was too close? Then balagan. Very good, very good. Good shot, good shot. Knowledge of when Mashiach is coming. So, of course, in Chabad, they like to tell you all about Mashiach when he's coming. Right? We want it now, this, that, and that. But nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. And the question is, why not? Well, the answer is because Hashem did not let Yaakov say it. Why? Well, he says because the divine presence left him. Now, when the divine presence left him, Itai says because it's not good to know. Because if it's too far away, you'll become discouraged, and if it's too close, then you'll forget all about the mitzvah. You just wait. Mashiach's coming in 3 days. Okay, for 3 days I can have fun. I'm going to Hollywood for 3 days. I'm going to Santa Monica Pier for 3 days. Mashiach will be here anyway. Truth is that, and well, there's a true answer, but something happened, you see, that caused Yaakov to misunderstand why he lost the Shekhinah. The misunderstanding came about because the moment he began to black out from the information and not know, he looked at his bedside and he looked at all his sons and he said, Shema, yesh psul b'mitati.
שמה מה?
Yesh psul b'mitati.
מה זה פסול? אחד מבניהם לא עבוד.
Maybe one of my sons is really not a prophet. Yes, it's true that Avraham had Yitzchak and Yishmael, and he was 50% successful. And yes, it's true that Yitzchak had Yaakov and Esau, and he was 50% successful. But at the end of the day, okay, Yaakov was supposed to be the Bechira Avot. He's the choice of the fathers. He's the greatest of them all. He's supposed to have 12 perfect tribes. And he feels certain that the reason that he didn't get the information or he lost it is because someone here is acting in accordance. Someone here is a fake. Someone in this of you 12 is a fake. Who is it? Who is it? And so the sons watch him, scanning them. He's scanning everyone. And the sons see it. And they know what he's thinking. So they say, Father, your name is Yisrael. Is that true? Yes, that's true. Your name. Shema Yisrael. Listen, Father Israel. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. The Lord is our God. The Lord is one. We're all with this. We're all into it. We're with Hashem. We believe Hashem is our God. We believe Hashem is one. Every one of us. And they all said it in unison. From here we learn that when you daven in the morning or night, whenever you say the Shema, you should say that pasuk out loud. Shema Yisrael, not quietly, loud. Shema Yisrael. And of course, we often say that you're not supposed to say Hashem's name unless you're really praying, but you know that it is permissible to say it. If you say a passage from the Torah in its entirety, then you can actually say the real word. So I would say Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Why am I permitted to do that? Because I'm saying the whole passage from top to bottom, from beginning to end. It's permissible. Now, they all said that to Father. And they said it with the real name. Of course, Father's quite pleased. Wow, I had this suspicion of all of you, or any one of you, and now I find myself, thank Hashem, pleased. And in order to express his pleasure, he expressed the pleasure to Hashem. And he said the following words. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Blessed is the glory of God's kingdom forever. My thanksgiving to you, my Hashem, that my sons are all intact. Now, the problem with him saying that is that if you look at the Torah, and if you really want to see, I can show it to you. If you look at the Shema, way out here in Devarim, and on page, in the 5th book of the Torah, if you switch out for a quick second, and you take a look at page 972, you will see the Shema right there. And it says, Shema Yisrael, take a look. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. What's the next word? V'ahavta. What happened to Baruch Shem Kivod? What happened to that? The answer is that Baruch Shem Kivod was originally a special tefillah, special prayer and praise that belonged exclusively to the Malachim, to the angels. It's their praise. It doesn't belong to us. When we say the Shema, we don't say it. Or we do say it, but we say it softly. Why do we say it softly? Frankly, we shouldn't say it at all. Why do we say it? Because of Yaacov Avinu said it. So therefore we remember this story every time we say the Shema by saying Baruch Shem Kivod after, right? So now we say Baruch Shem Kivod to remember the story of Yaacov Avinu. But say it softly because it doesn't really belong to us. Who does it belong to? The Malachim, the angels. One day a year, you're supposed to say Baruch Shem Kivod B'Kol Ram B'Kol Gadol with a great screaming voice. And that day of the year is Yom Kippur. Why? Because in Yom Kippur, when we're fasting and and we have all these afflictions upon us, no oils, no relations, no shoes, no washing, no food, no drink. We are like angels, and therefore, being like angels. That's why many of us who do have this custom to dress in white, which is also a very good custom. Being like angels, we have a right to say Baruch Shem Kivod and a long and loud voice. And so that's why in Yom Kippur you'll hear Shema Yisrael, followed by Baruch Shem Kivod. And that's how we conclude Yom Kippur. The conclusion of Yom Kippur, at the end of the day, when we're all tired and exhausted and hungry, and we're not even thinking about it at all, because we're all energized with this adrenaline inside us. We can't wait for another Yom Kippur. We're screaming out Shema Yisrael once again, Baruch Shem Kivod. So this story must remain the story of Yaacov Avinu. One last point, Gematria. One last Gematria. Says Yaacov Avinu, I will tell you what's going to happen b'acharit hayamim. So we take the words acharit hayamim, and on page 274, the end of days, and we have a Gematria. Now, I'm not even going to ask you on that.
I can do it so fast.
Tell it to me.
Kol Acharit Hayamim with the bed?
With the bed. Time's up. Not fair. Okay. Anyone want to try it?
Okay. 600 and...
Waiting to fix it.
You wait to fix them. Bet Aleph Chet Reish Yud Taf.
621.
600?
זה באחרית.
Okay. If you want to say that. באחרית 600 וכמה?
21.
621 you want to say. Okay. Go ahead. I'm not sure it's right. I didn't check it yet. Go ahead. Okay. Go ahead.
הימים with the hay.
Yeah, of course. Hayamim with that, right. 3.
105.
Okay, what's it all together? 621 and 105.
The 7...
That's where he got screwed up. Okay.
No, 726.
He got the Hebrew right. He couldn't get the right.
726.
726. You hear the number 726? You hear that number?
What is it with 726? It's so random.
I'll tell you how not random it is.
No, really.
I'll tell you how not random it is. Because you know that the year 5000, all the years of 5000 that we have in this century, 5000 and this 1000, we never add we don't have a number for the 1000. So we put for the first 1000, Aleph, second 1000, Bet, third 1000, Gimel. The 5000 is hay. So there's a hay in front of the year. Right now the year is 779, Tov Shilai and Tet. The year 726 was Tavshin Chavav, 1966.
56.
66.
What happened in 1966?
What happened in 1966?
6 days World War in 67.
Okay, so it was a year off. He was a year off. Now what happened in 1967, everybody? Tavshin Chav Zayin.
6 days.
The 6-Day War, where we took over the Kotel, we took over Kever Rachel, we took over Marat HaMachpelah, we took over the West Bank, we took over the Golan, we took over the Sinai. We took over. That we were stupid to give it back. That's because you people have people in government that are stupid. I mean, that's all right. I mean,
We gave everything back.
But the truth is, you see, that was the beginning
Of the end.
of the end. We want to say, I can tell you this much. I was in Israel in 1966-67. I was a bacher amongst all the bacher. And I can tell you that the talk all throughout the yeshivas, all throughout the streets of Mea Sha'arim and Geula and all the beautiful places of Yerushalayim was Mashiach's coming. We were convinced of it. There was every bacher, every student on his lips was, when's he coming? We were convinced. Then, of course, the Six-Day War began, and the victory was so miraculous, there was no choice but to recognize the connection between the two events, between the prediction of Yaacov Avinu and this sense of what had happened in 1967, and of the great Six-Day War and the great miracles of victory. So, we live in Messianic times. No one will doubt that. We live in Acharit Yamim. We live in Acharit Yamim. We live in the end of days. We are, and the times are coming. And of course, I can't tell you the ETA, no one can tell you the ETA, but it could happen any day, including tomorrow. Right?
You do know the max.
Then you wouldn't have to worry about Lukuchim anymore.
You see?
You see that?
I wish, but not
Yeah, maybe.
But we do know the max, right? Like the
Well, the max 6,000, that's for sure.
Yeah, so we have maximum. We have like 200 years. 200
Right, yes. But I'm just saying, understand that when a man is removed, when a great prophet sees a vision of truth, right? And a great prophet sees something imminent, in clarity, and then all of a sudden, it goes black on him. Usually what happens is that out of his mouth comes a subconscious allusion or subconscious reference or a subconscious hint to what is really going to happen. And this is called a subconscious nevuah, subconscious prophecy. And
הוא אמר, אבל כאן הוא מחשבי הקיצין, שזה משהו יפה.
No.
מחשבי הקיצין, אסור לחשב את הקץ.
לא, תפח רוחן שמחשב.
No, but the fact is he heard, but he had it. He wasn't machashiv, he had it. He didn't sing it out. He didn't make a law. He didn't sit down and make a chesed.
יעקב לא חושב.
Listen, you want to make a chesed? There are loads of psychics down Hollywood Boulevard, you know? Ask them when's Mashiach coming. Right? The truth is, we're not allowed to try and find out when. But what we do have to do is to realize that when a holy person tells you certain facts, even if he's not conscious of them, they are nevertheless true. The subconscious of the tzaddik is greater than the consciousness of the rest of us. Okay? So when the Lubavitcher Rebbe says that Mashiach is imminent, pay attention. Pay attention.
He did say it.
Yeah.
Pay
No,
attention.
אבל he didn't
Pay
say
attention.
It's not like a...
Don't be so quick to think differently. Because what the tzaddik sees subconscious, you don't see conscious. You get that?
You can see it at home and calculate it, but you can't publish it. You're not allowed to publish it. That's the only
So, last question of the day. We're going to give it to Kim because after all, Kim's the best questioner in the whole class. Yeah? Pay attention to Kim.
You know the Temple Institute, right in Jerusalem, the Temple Institute.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
So they published that they have a red cap or a
Yeah, I heard about that too.
So what are you saying?
So they all try to find the red cow. Because everybody knows that if you find the red cow, that's a sign Mashiach is here.
But they found one.
And invariably, every time you find the red cow, what happens?
There's more than 2 black hairs on it.
That's
But
right.
not this time.
They
But
did
not
the
this
temple
time.
sacrifice now.
But this time no.
So, and maybe
They waited for 3 years before they published it.
But let's understand something. Now that we have finished Sefer Bereshit, the first book of the Torah, all about our ancestors and our matriarchs and patriarchs, Avot and Imahot, then we realize of our mothers and fathers. Now we realize that we're going through the second book, which is the formation of our people as a nation. And that will begin with Galut, with exile, with suffering, because from there we will become great enough to merit the Gula. Okay, thank you all for coming. Shabbat Shalom, and please make sure to be here on Sunday at 10 a.m. for mitzvahs.